Hey folks, it's John with KGTropicals.com. We're here at my good friend Dave Warren's house. We're talking about breeding angelfish. We're here for part 2. In this episode, we're going to talk all about getting your system set up to breed angelfish. So we're going to pick Dave's brain. He knows pretty much anything there is to know. The man's an engineer by profession, so I mean, he's paid to be smart. So we're going to pick his brain and we're going to find out what we need. So Dave, a wannabe fish breeder, somebody who wants to set up from scratch. Maybe they have some tanks sitting around in the garage or whatever it is. What kind of tanks should the newbie use to get their system set up? How many, what sizes, all that good stuff?
Well, as far as tanks go, you can go with just about any size. I have found easiest to clean, easiest to maintain, and the fish are more comfortable is 29 gallon. 29 gallon is a tall tank. Angelfish like tall tanks. It's a good size. You can reach the bottom. It's easy to filter. That's the way I've been going. I've been converting a lot of 40 breeders down to 29. So it's just a good size.
For your breeding
yeah.
pair, you mean? Okay. And what about fry tanks and all that?
Fry tanks, the way I have it right now, I start out with a 5 gallon. I move the eggs into a 5 gallon tank. Then from the 5 gallon, then I move them up. If I have a 10 available, if not, I'll move them all the way up to a 40. But I stage them. If the tank is too big, they can't find the food. So, they'll stay in a 5 gallon for a while and then move up.
I got you. Are angels, this is off the script here. Are angels like Africans in that they will grow faster if they're in a larger tank? Or is it the opposite? Like you said, they can't find the food?
I think all fish are pretty much that way. The larger the tank, the faster they'll grow. It also has to do with the amount of food because they need to be well fed, but they don't need to be overfed. The way that I combat that is I overfeed and then I increase the water changes. But with any animal, the way you feed them is going to determine how fast they grow and how healthy they are. So.
Gotcha. And we're going to talk about what to feed them and stuff like that in a future video. Now, filtering these tanks, I know it's really no different than Africans. I've already talked about breeding Africans and talked about filtration for those, but talk to me about filtration for the breeders and the fry tanks and all that kind of stuff.
Well, fry tanks, I just use sponge filters. It's safer. You're not sucking your fry up in the filtration. But when they move to the first tank, the first grow out tank, then I like to use canister filters. I've had particularly good luck with the Nex filters. They're API, and the main reason is the power head is in the water, but it doesn't pull that hard. The fry don't seem to have a problem with it. Plus, I can adjust how high it is, and it does a good job on filtration.
Gotcha. But the thing to point out, one of the things that he mentioned was sponge filters. Sponge filters are driven by air. If you're not familiar with them, they have a good draw to them. They work extremely well, but they're not so strong that you're going to be sucking fry up into your impellers and basically killing all of your fry. So now, I know we're buzzing through this quick, but we want to keep these videos short. Water parameters.
Water parameters, my water comes out of the faucet at 6.8 pH. Angelfish can handle a very, very wide range, 6.8 to 7.6, 7.8. As far as the hardness, my water's soft, so I haven't had any problems, but my son has some angelfish and his water is not soft and they still do well. Angelfish are pretty hardy. They can handle just about anything. Like any fish, it's the consistency. You don't want to fight the water for the fish. You want to train the fish for the water, because you can't change your water. So as long as you keep it consistent and keep the water clean and do your changes, you'll be fine with angelfish.
But are there parameters that are more conducive to breeding? I mean, raising angels, we know that's not extraordinarily difficult. They're a pretty hardy fish, but is one water parameter like a super soft, super low pH going to make them breed better, or is it all the same?
It's hard for me. All my water, like I said, is filtered well water, and it comes out at 6.8. I usually keep it around 7 because I do use driftwood, and driftwood tends to adjust your pH some. I use pool filter sand on the bottom. So my pH is around 6.8 to 7.2, and they do really well with it. I control more with temperature. You know, the warmer the temperature, the more often they're going to spawn. The lower the temperature, theoretically, the less they're going to spawn. But as far as water parameters, I have friends in New Mexico that are breeding angels, and their water is very hard, but they're having success. So, you know, if you go by the book, soft water 6.5 to 6.8, but every fish is different.
Well, you pretty much answered my next question. I mean, you know, now I got to go off script and I'm all messed up here. I was going to talk about temperature, but you didn't say the exact temperature. You said you control it with temperature. I'd like for you to elaborate a little bit more on that, if you will. What temperatures for your breeding pair and all of the, you know, raising the fry and all of that?
Well, I keep all my tanks except the discus tank at 80 degrees. At 80 degrees, I usually get my my angel pairs to spawn every 8 to 10 days.
Wow.
The book will tell you 14 days, but the black angels that we saw earlier, my first pair, they breed they lay eggs every 6 days.
Good Lord.
And you know, they will burn out. So the black angels, I keep the water down around 76, and that slows them down to almost 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
But the warmer the temperature, the more they're going to spawn. Also, just like every other fish, water changes is going to prompt them to spawn. So if I have high demand and a low amount of angelfish, what I'll do is I'll raise the temperature 82 degrees and then do frequent water changes. And usually that'll make them spawn. And I'll have 6 or 7 batches of fry.
Nice.
The hard thing is to synchronize them, because that's what I try to do. I try to get them all to spawn at the same time so I can put them all in one tank.
Well, we are running a little low at the store, so if you don't mind, pick things up a little bit. We could use some more angels. Plus, a lot of people after watching this series are going to want to buy some. Last question: when we're actually talking about the interior of the tank, all of your tanks I see, except for maybe the fry tanks, are decorated. I mean, they're
Right.
decorated like show tanks. Somebody coming into this that's new, is there particular decor, if you will, that's going to be good for breeding? And are there certain things that you can put in the tank that are going to provide spawning sites and stuff like that? What do you use in the tanks?
Well, Amazon swords, as far as plants, I use plants in all my tanks, simply because it calms the fish down. I'm not needing to produce thousands of fish a week or something like that, so I can give them time. But the fish are calmer, they're at ease. They like to lay eggs on the African swords. I do put slate in there, but like any other animal, they're never going to do what you want them to do, so a lot of times the slate goes unused. And you know, it's not as easy to clean a decorated tank, but it's more for the fish and for the visual. It's a prettier tank than just a bare tank. So.
Well, and that's something to point out, because a lot of, if you watch videos on YouTube and stuff like that and you see angelfish factories, you're going to see a lot of barren tanks, and all there is the breeding pair and maybe an upside down terracotta pot, which is another good thing that you can use. They're like $1 at Walmart. I mean, they work really well. Clean them up real good, put them in there upside down. They work really well. It's almost like a makeshift breeder cone. Everybody talks about breeding cones. But in the angel factories, you're going to see a lot of barren tanks. If you're doing this in your house, you're doing it for fun, you're not going to have a lot of fun. You're not going to enjoy looking at a tank that has nothing in it. So it's a good point. I like it. Keep the tanks decorated. That way you enjoy it more. So that's it for this episode. We've picked his brain a little bit on this topic, and we need to move on to the next one. So in the next episode, what are we talking about in the next episode? I don't even know. I turned my thing off. We're going to talk about selecting the fish, selecting the right fish to breed. You'll understand what I mean when we get into that episode. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next episode, and we'll see you then. And once again, you didn't say goodbye.
Bye.